9 years on YouTube. It's a milestone that we hit recently on August 26th of this year, so real quick, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has watched my videos and supported me over that time. To celebrate, we can hype this video, whatever the hell that new feature does. I don't even know if it's rolled out properly yet. I can't see it on my phone, but maybe it's there. But ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again with another edition of controversial rap lyrics. You already know what the series is all about. It's pretty much explained by the title, so let's not waste any time and let's jump right into it.
You like it like I do. Put your lips on my dick and suck my asshole too. That dick will make a bitch act cute. Suck my dick, bitch, and make it puke.
I fuck that bitch from the cones on her head to the bunions on her motherfucking feet.
You lick to whore behind closed doors. You would drink my cum and nothing more. She's always scheming and hot like a demon. I thought I came in her mouth, but I was only peeing.
Don't suck it, bitch, bend down. Oh, don't suck it, bitch, bend down.
Now, I talked about this album in a video of mine many years ago, but I thought it would be worth spotlighting it again within this series. Those lyrics you just heard, pretty explicit, but probably not anything that you haven't heard before, right? Maybe just a few more mentions of male ass eating. Yeah, well, the album that came from was deemed as legally obscene in a court of law because of the lyrics. This was the first time that an album was ever legally labeled this way, with the judge who enforced the ruling stating, "It is an appeal to dirty thoughts and the loins, not to the intellect and the mind." This prohibited the album from being sold in several southern Floridian counties, the jurisdiction in which it was deemed as obscene. A retailer in the area, Charles Freeman, was literally arrested when an undercover police officer went into his store posing as someone who wanted to buy a copy of the album.
Hey sir, do you happen to have that new, Two Live Crew album in stock?
Yeah, sure sir, let me just get that for you. You're a big fan?
Yeah, I love, pussy and bitches. Me so horny, right?
You're an undercover police officer, aren't you?
Yeah.
Then after that, Two Live Crew themselves were arrested for performing the album within Broward County, one of the areas in which it was banned. That's the definition of controversial, being arrested over your lyrics. But luckily, it didn't go much further than that, and a couple of years later, the obscenity ruling was overturned. Honestly, the worst offense that this album commits is just sounding a bit sexual predatory on a few tracks. For example, Put Her in the Buck, a track about sex that for some reason frequently samples a woman saying no, no, no.
Wrap her legs right now, take this dick. No. When I bust a nut, your ass will be screaming. No.
It's a weird choice. It's an album that you could definitely say is sometimes in poor taste, but I think in any case, deeming it as illegal is not necessary. It's mostly done with an exaggerated comedic tone, along with an energetic bounce to the production, and even if some of the lyrics are weird, there's definitely some issues you could find with the content of the album. I think banning albums for their content is basically never a good move. Charles Freeman, the previously mentioned retailer arrested for selling the album, said it best: "No judge should be allowed to dictate what kind of music an adult can listen to." Controversy aplenty with this album.
When I murder, kill, shit's real, battlefield.
Rap lyrics being used in court is a recurring topic in these videos, but I think the case of Mac, real name McKinley Phipps, makes a good case for why they maybe shouldn't be. Mac was a rapper who signed to Master P's label, No Limit Records, in the late 90s. Under this label, he released his second studio album, Shell Shocked, which contained the mystical collab track, Murder Murder, Kill Kill. And this track was one of the ones that would eventually be used against him. In February of 2000, Mac was scheduled to perform at a Louisiana nightclub, but before the show could begin, a fight broke out which ended in a 19-year-old Baron Victor Jr. being shot and killed. Mac was subsequently arrested for this, and by all accounts, the authorities involved were dead set on pinning this crime to him. A cousin of the victim stated that he was being threatened by investigators to identify Mac as the shooter. It was later found out that 5 state witnesses in total claimed that they were bullied into identifying Mac as the shooter. There was no forensic evidence tying Mac to the crime, and finally, maybe most importantly, someone else confessed to being the shooter. But police mostly disregarded this, and despite all of that, Mac was found guilty of the shooting and in 2001 was sentenced to 30 years in prison. And you know what the crazy thing is, outside of everything that we've discussed already? The lyrics that I played you at the beginning of this segment were not even quoted correctly by prosecutors in court. They jammed different lyrics from different songs of Mac's together and slightly altered the wording to give them as damning a meaning as possible. In his closing argument, the assistant DA Bruce Deering told the jury, "This defendant who did this is the same defendant whose message is murder, murder, kill, kill, you fuck with me, you get a bullet in your brain. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that 1 + 1 = 2. But apparently you do have to be a genius to quote lyrics that you're using to incriminate someone correctly in court." Here he mashed together 2 separate songs, the first half of it being from Murder, Murder, Kill, Kill, and the second half coming from the song Shell Shocked. And that is the part that is misquoted because the lyrics there are actually about Mac's father, but the assistant DA twisted them to be in the first person and make it sound like Mac was talking about himself, just to make it appear more incriminating.
They kept pushing it, like trying to shove it down the jury's throat and use it as a reference of my character. And I think that was probably the single most prejudicial thing that he did.
I don't think it's a stretch to say that they essentially used Mac's rap persona to convict him for something that there is very little proof that he did. Fast forward a whole bunch of years, and in June of 2021, McKinley Phipps was finally released from prison after serving 2 decades of his sentence. It's worth noting that even now that he's out of prison, he hasn't been exonerated of the crime, so legally he still is considered as the man who shot Baron Victor Jr., but everything about this conviction looked super shady. When all was said and done, McKinley Phipps, aka Mac, lost out on around 20 years of his freedom. His son was born while he was behind bars, at least in part due to deceptive use of his lyrics in court.
Nigga, how here we they don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how here we.
I'm honestly stunned at Kanye's ability to make it even more over than previously seemed possible. The Vultures albums were pretty obnoxious lyrically at a lot of points, but now he's fully reached the point of no return, far-right pandering music. No amount of he-made graduations can fix this, bro. Just look at the opening paragraph on Wikipedia for this song. That should be something that is from an alternate reality completely separate to ours, but it is not. This song was so controversial that I couldn't even use a Genius lyrics card like I usually do for these songs at the start of this segment because the song isn't on there. It's pretty much banned from the platform. Now, you just heard it. It's obvious why the song was controversial, and as a consequence, it has been banned from most streaming services, has been officially banned in Germany, I don't think that's a surprise, and lost Kanye West his Australian travel visa, blocking him from entering the country. Following the release of the track, Kanye himself seemed to kind of be backtracking from it, going on to re-release it as the, in huge quotation marks, Christian version of the song, titled Hallelujah, after tweeting that he was done with anti-Semitism. He's had his fun with it, guys. It's over now.
Nigga, hallelujah. Nigga, hallelujah. All my niggas got me, nigga, hallelujah.
Despite this being the more holy version, allegedly, the verses are still mostly unchanged.
She wanna fuck with Japan. I put the crumb on the bench.
But yeah, I don't think that will make anybody forget what this track was in the first place. There's no point in hiding from it. Kanye said this on a song, and even if it's been scrubbed from most places on the internet, this video can at least help a little bit to document the fact that this actually did happen and was not some sort of weird Mandela effect that we all dreamed up. If only that was the case. I mean, hey, if YouTube is still around in 20 years and you happen to be stumbling across this video, yeah, this did really happen.
Honey on that topping when I stuff you in my system. Rape a pregnant bitch and tell my friends I had a threesome.
I'm revisiting this song again here for a very particular reason. You cannot go through a single Tyler, the Creator album cycle at this point without someone bringing this lyric up. I saw it for Call Me If You Get Lost, Chromacopia, and Don't Tap the Glass, and hell, it was probably happening even before that. You see that fuck-ass pink Spotify lyric screenshot, and you already know what's being said. And my thing with this one is, I don't really like the song, or the line, but this was in 2011. Tyler's music hasn't even sounded remotely like this for a long time, so what is the point in continuing to bring it up when he's literally showcased his growth? Does he need to keep outright stating it and apologizing every time someone comes across the album? In a situation like this, I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. He used to say super edgy stuff, now he doesn't. He used to rap about literally eating women, and now he can't stop talking about figuratively eating them. That's growth right there. And if someone says, oh, well, he should have faced consequences for lines like this, he did. He was banned from the UK for 4 years because of the content of his Bastard and Goblin albums, with Tron Cat being one of the specific songs that was cited for his ban. Which is a little crazy considering it's not any worse than a lot of the stuff that Eminem said on his Relapse album, for example, but he never saw the same repercussions that Tyler did. It's just a bit overblown, to be honest. The lyrics are certainly not everyone's cup of tea, they're not even mine, but I don't think fictional songs like this should get people banned from countries as if they actually committed the crimes being talked about.
Turn backwards, back when there was comedic relief to say faggot. Faggot, 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 we ain't know no better.
Auntie Diaries is a song that in its entirety could be described as very divisive and indeed controversial. The song is about primarily Kendrick's experience with having a transgender uncle, female to male, and a transgender cousin, male to female. And it's easy to see why people, particularly some people who fall into the LGBT spectrum, may have some difficulties with the track. With a lot of people specifically bringing up the use of slurs within the song, Kendrick dead-naming his relatives, and the misgendering, with Kendrick constantly flip-flopping between referring to his female-to-male uncle as he or she, and referring to him as his auntie throughout the song and in the title. And I think being made uncomfortable by that is completely valid. I can see why it would make some people feel kind of weird about the track. On my end of things, I can only speak about the song from my perspective and my point of view, and I don't want that to be seen as invalidating other takes on the track, because I think there is a lot of discussion that could be had around the song. And I think this song really works for what it's going for personally. The impression I get is that this song does a solid job of showcasing Kendrick's growth while being brutally honest about some of the problematic behaviors that occurred before or during that growth. Some of it due to different societal norms back then, as well as a bit of religion in the mix. The unflinching nature of it, I think, helps to convey the reality of things, however uncomfortable that might be in a modern lens. Considering the type of album Mr. Morale is, I don't think Kendrick was setting out to make a perfect allyship song with Auntie Diaries, but was more so just giving an honest account of his personal life and how he responded to certain family members and how he grew through that. And I think an important thing with this one is that he's also talking about his own family members on here, and that would make me make the assumption that he wouldn't make this song if it was gonna upset or offend them personally. It is about Kendrick's experience more so than his uncles or his cousins, but there is the possibility that that could help certain listeners reflect and maybe grow in a similar way. And I don't know if the impact of the change in Kendrick's mind state and him becoming more accepting would hit the same if he didn't give you a fully unflinching look at the ups and downs of his attitudes around his LGBT family members. I feel like it makes for a more nuanced song that feels more real, feels more truthful in its growth, rather than pretending that Kendrick was never problematic just to make the track an easier listen. I see it in a similar way to historically accurate movies. If they shy away from harsh realities that are uncomfortable to watch or hear, it may not have the same impact that leaves you thinking about it long after you've experienced it, and therefore makes the art and the overall message stick with you. As I said, that's just my perspective on it, but there is a wide range of takes out there, all of which can add something to this discussion. And on that note, I'd be interested to hear down in the comments below what you guys think of that one, as well as any of the other lyrics that I have included here today. Once again, thank you so much for 9 years on YouTube. It's amazing that almost a decade later, I can still be doing this today and you guys are still around for the content. It means a lot to me. And if you're wanting a little bit more of my content, you can click on the screen right there to check out my worst rappers in the game video on Dax. We just got the copyright claim released on it, so Dax will not be taking my money for that one. And much love to my channel members and Patreon supporters on the screen right there, with a massive shout out to my biggest supporters, and those are Henry Flores, I Am Regent, Lucas1123, and Neo Striker.